So Queens is the greatest city on earth. On earth. Queens. The greatest city on earth. So we've got halal munchies, don't they? Does any other city have halal munchies? Well, there you go. So this is the city of Queens. I guess you're right. Technically, it's not a city; it's a borough. But I think it's a city. I think it's its own city because we've got New York City. Obviously, that's its own city. So Queens is not New York City. I guess it kind of is, but I think it's its own city. So I think Queens is a city. I don't think it's a suburb per se. I don't think it's like I said, it is a borough. I don't think it's an island per se. It's kind of on an island, I guess, but Queens itself isn't like the island. It isn't really an island like the island of Queens. It's the city of Queens, I think, even though it's the borough of Queens, but the borough is a city, I mean, I think all the boroughs are different cities, I don't think any of the boroughs are necessarily like a suburb or, anything like that. Obviously, some of the boroughs are islands, Staten Island in particular, and then Manhattan is also an island, and that's a borough. Plus then there's Harlem, it's part of Manhattan. And then I guess so the Bronx part of Manhattan? Well, it's a different borough, but I don't know if it's on the same island or not. Anyway, but here we are on some type of island. It obviously is on some type of island, that much is for sure. It's not part of New York State. Well, I mean, it is technically part of New York State, but you know what I mean? Geographically, it's not actually part of the mainland of New York State. But it is a city, so I think that's cool because, sometimes, you got the suburbs, kind of boring. You got the country, country can be nice to get away for a nice quiet drive in the country. Sometimes they have cool things in this country like, apple cider, apple orchards and, corn mazes and stuff like, so something to do to get out of town for a while and go do something fun with the kids or whatever. But, cities have all sorts of culture, all sorts of history. So in Queens, there's a lot of Asian communities, a lot of different Asian cultures. So there's a lot of different restaurants, like ranging from Filipino food to Malaysian food, Thai food, Japanese food, and so on, Indonesian food. And there's a lot of culture and there's a lot of history, just like with Brooklyn, just like with the Bronx, especially with hip hop, the original battle in hip hop was between MC Shan and KRS-One. Anyway, that's the first one I heard about, so that's the first one I knew about. Before then, I don't know if there were any, but I've never heard of one before that, so that's kind of the origins of not just the first battle, but just the first hip-hop music in general, the first hip-hop crews. And, and since then, there's been plenty of big names, people, even, to the people like, 50 Cent from Queens, a little bit more, modern, and there's some more since then too. In different areas of hip hop, they're not all MCs. Sometimes they're producers. Sometimes they're mainstream. Sometimes they're underground. Sometimes they're battlers. Graffiti, breakdance, fashion. Different things. Definitely the fashion, because we got Cali Dade times Queensbridge with Cormega and Cali Dade hooking up to do that collab. So, that's what's popping. Well, I don't think you can get the shirts right now anymore, but if you got one, then maybe they'll do another run of that in the future, and then or a different one, But anyway, definitely, like I said, Queensbridge. Definitely a lot of MCs that came out of there, so rest in peace to Prodigy, because he was one of the greatest ones. And I listened to some of the stuff he was saying, and he really knew what he was talking about too. And I heard him say that actually, even though people don't know this, because he had a beef with Pac over the them kicking down the buildings, which was just in a video. Obviously, it didn't really happen. It's not Godzilla in real life. that he had a friend named E Money Bags, and he said that if Pac was still alive, they would have been buddies, best friends, you know, mates, like they say in the UK, you know. So I think that's what's going on. You know, obviously, if you think about it, what does the UK have? A queen, matriarchy. Sorry, I mean a monarchy, that too. But a monarchy, you know, and they've got the patriarchy, but they've also got a queen for their monarch. So a little bit of both, man. And so, you know, Queen's English, what did the Clash say? Speaking Queen's English in quotations. They're kind of rapping, you know. But anyway, I know I'm just kind of saying anything, but Say Anything, that's a band. That's also a movie. I haven't seen that movie. I haven't listened to that band, so I just happen to know that because my friends do. But anyway, yeah, so the Queens, if you think about it, this is the Queensboro. Brooklyn is the Kingsborough. And so, but we're not a part of the UK anymore. We were at a certain point. Well, I don't even know if it was the UK back then, but we were part of the British Empire at one point, but we got our independence on 4th of July. But black people got their independence, and Juneteenth is a day that's associated with that. So that's why black people are celebrating today. So anyhow, but, you know, we're not part of the Commonwealth, but, you know, do you know that Canada is a part of the Commonwealth? So it's funny because, like, they have their own government, and, like, technically they don't have to do anything that, like, the Queen says, but they still, like, pray to the Queen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not, like, literally, like, it's not, like, Canadians on the street, like, praying to the Queen, but, you know, they still swear allegiance to the Queen, even though that technically doesn't mean they have to do anything she says, but it's still kind of funny, I think.